and you'd be right.
Yep.
But you know what else we heard? Garrosh.
I love Warrior right now, too. I don't know what it is about mechs, but just something with me and Warriors and mechs, I'm like, this feels right. Now, this hand does not look right now.
No, it really doesn't. But something about just having that tank up hero power. It doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't matter how awkward your hand is. Your opponent plays a Void Walker. You look at it and you go, all right, heal 4. They look at you and go, deal 1.
Yeah.
Pass. And I mean, just having that heal 4 every turn is just so powerful. Sometimes you don't even need other options. Your hand can be really awkward. I believe we saw that earlier on in one of the other sets where, you know, the hand was a little bit awkward at the start, but just healing up every turn.
It's not even just heal 4, it's just shield 4.
Shield 4?
Yeah.
I like the way you put that.
Like, if I'm at 30, I still get it anyway. And I love that.
I like shield 4 because I get it, because it looks like a shield when you hit the heal power button.
Dane's going to be on the Warlock here, and we saw this a little bit earlier. It's a demon-centric Zoo Warlock build.
We've seen a lot of the Zoo Warlocks.
He's had Void Analyst in here, 2 mana, 2/2. It says Death Rattle, all demons in your hand, gain +1/+1. And he's got that Buster on the far left. It's a 3 mana, 1/5 demon, but it gets +1 attack for each damage you've taken this turn. So say you play Flame Imp alongside it, it's going to get +3 attack. You Flame Imp and Life Tap, it's going to get +5 attack for that 3 mana that's on there. And Solarium, the legendary Warlock spell from Boomsday Project. You draw 3 cards for a single mana, but at the end of turn, you got to discard those cards that you didn't use.
It's very powerful in the late game. In the early game stages, it's not what you want to be playing because, of course, you know, you only got 1 mana. You're just discarding 3 cards. There's no reason to play it. But when you get to the later stages, when you're just trying to life tap and keep finding those resources, it's a card that sometimes can just put you back into the game. It's kind of like Divine Favor, where you've played all your resources and now you're running out and you say, you know what, I just need more resources. So you go ahead and play the Solarium and then draw a bunch of cards and you get there.
Yeah, and oftentimes the nature of the aggressive Warlock decks is that they're relying on, you know, burn spells or effective burn spells, like Doomguard, to be able to finish the opponent. So, you know, while it's unplayable a lot of times in the first few turns of the game, that's the cost that comes with being able to see 3 extra cards from your deck.
And there's that Void Analyst we were mentioning earlier, the 2 mana 2/2 Death Rattle. Give +1/+1 to each demon in your hand. It's actually very powerful. I was playtesting with that a little bit when the set first came out. I originally thought it was a battle cry, so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put 2 of these in everything. Then I realized it was a Death Rattle the first time I played it, and I went, you know what, this is still good.
You know, that's the experience I had with Void Caller, if you remember that minion. It was a 4 mana 3/4 Death Rattle. It's summon a demon from your hand. And when I first read it, I was like, this card's insane! Because I thought it said battle. And then when someone's like, that's Death Rattle, I was like, oh, that's still pretty good.
Still pretty good. That was my reaction with Void Analyst. But I did get a surprise the first time I played it and realized it didn't +1/+1 my hand.
Roger's hand's starting to shape up as well here. He's drawing a couple of mechs. You know, Ziliax is a big one to look at. It's a 5 mana 3/2 Magnetic, Divine Shield, Rush, Taunt, Lifesteal. That's a lot of keywords. So every damage it deals, it's going to restore that much health. And the Magnetic, I think, is really one of the big parts of that, where you can slap that onto one of the big mechs that's already on board and gain back a bunch of life. And then also, you know, give a minion taunts. That way you can disrupt the attack from your opponent, gain back even more health from a card like that. And you see the Piloted Reaper in hand, 4 mana, 4/3. It's Death Rattle, summon a 2-cost or less minion from your hand. You know, this is a pretty straightforward-looking mech-odd control warrior. It's going to want to blow up every minion from Dane for pretty much the entire game.
It's cool to see additions like Nightmare Amalgam. Not a card you typically see too often. You only see it really in Murloc decks. But since it has every tag, it works so well with this new magnetized mechanic where you can just go ahead and play it out and then maybe play a Ziliax on it just to kind of get that value. But there we see one thing that Warrior sometimes has trouble with is just 2 well-statted mid-range minions. You can't really brawl it. You don't really want to use your removal on it, but sometimes they just keep racking up that damage over and over. And we see Dane set up a board state where it is exactly that, just 2 mid-range minions that are going to keep stacking up the damage. And Ziliax here is going to come in for a really clutch trade.
Yeah, just Omega Assembly looking for some big stuff to play. You know, one of the biggest warrior mechs that got introduced is a 5 mana 3/4 Dynomatic, and it deals 5 damage randomly distributed amongst non-mech units. And that card is so strong because of its potential to just clear out a bunch of small health stuff or kill 1 5 health minion. and it leaves something behind to keep battling for board. Like, that, to me, is like the shining reason to play Warrior right now.
I mean, we saw how powerful that card was earlier, where it full cleared the board and then just set up lethal on the following turn.
Oh, yeah.
Not many cards can do that.
Well, Dane's having a bit of a rough turn here.
Yeah, it doesn't have the strongest of options. I mean, can just go ahead and play out one of the 5 drops, maybe play Serenite Chain Gang. I think you definitely want to fit the Soulfire in, because the Soulfire allows you to push this damage through that you really need to, because you are the aggressive deck. You are the aggressor. You cannot give Roger any kind of time. So by taking trades, you're giving him more time.
Yeah, you are getting board development too, though. It is important versus Roger to set up board and try to punish him for that. It's not as simple as just dealing damage. So we'll see how this ends up working out, but when the Odd Warrior hits that 7 mana and they still got 30 life,
and they have the room to just play a Gorehow, that's how you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, that is big yikes territory.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised, just see Doomguard. Just get him. Ooh, we're gonna opt for the Solarium.
So this does dictate the plays to some degree. So notice that Soul Infusion, not so good in this particular spot unless he wants to play the Fungalmancer here, which I could totally see. Voidwalker, Demon Fire, not the strongest, but neither is the Fungalmancer play. But the Fungalmancer allows him to use Soul Infusion, which says give the leftmost minion in your hand +2/+2, which suddenly is the Serenite Chain Gang. It's going to summon 2 4/5s.
It's just so awkward, though, because you really want this Fungalmancer to hit on 2 minions. I almost wouldn't be surprised to maybe see the Voidwalker Fungalmancer and just push the damage there. I think that's also a really strong play. But it depends on how much Dane wants to utilize all of these cards. If he just wants to go ahead and play out as many as possible, that way they don't get discarded, that's something to consider. But, I might have gone for maybe a stronger play and just say, you know what, let's sacrifice both of these cards.
Wants to land that Fungalmancer for full value. Dr. Boom.
Ooh,
Mad Genius gets drawn. New hero card. 7 mana. You get 7 armor. All your mechs have rush for the remainder of the game. And it features a transforming hero power.
There's so many different options for that hero power. Like there's one that gains armor.
Yeah, at the end of every turn, it'll swap. So Roger's going to see a new hero power here, and Dane gets to see it as well. And that one is a deal 3 damage hero power. You just pick something, pop it for 3. You just laser it.
That's insane.
There's 7 armor, there's Discover a Mech, there's Summon 3 1/1 mechs, and there's Deal 1 damage to the opposing mech.
All pretty powerful in their own respect. I mean, a lot of times you want to make sure you get specific. You want to try and get specific ones in certain scenarios. But a lot of times, all of those effects are just very powerful in their just own right.
Stop copying me!
Well, it's going to be valuable to pick up something like a board clear here. Rogers, doesn't have that available right now, so it's going to be fighting for board the good old-fashioned way.
But the mechs do have rush. Can go ahead and fight for board that way.
Security Rover, it's a 6 mana 2/5. Every time it takes damage, you summon a 2/3 mech with taunt.
And because of Dr. Boom Mad Genius, that mech with taunt's also going to have the rush ability. So I wouldn't be surprised to see as much cleanup as possible. Go ahead, take 2 value trades, put the Gorehow into the Serenite Chain Gang, and even use that last mech just to get another value trade.
Cleaning up board. That's Discover a Mech hero power that he just fetched there, so we got more mechs coming, but life total's starting to fall dangerous. I could totally see Dane just ripping it here. Like going for the Soulfire.
Ooh, going for both? Going for the Hail Mary play, the Soulfire and a Doomguard?
You could get your opponent down to about 1 life if this succeeds.
Oh, but if you discard this Doomguard,
big yikes.
That is a huge yikes. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to maybe just see Demon Fire come onto the taunt and then play the Doomguard. That's another strong possibility because you get in a little bit less damage, but you still put a lot of pressure on your opponent.
Building a board has seemed to be a theme. Oh, look at this. Wait a minute. lot. He just keeps the 2-2 around.
Keeps the 2-2 around. You also fit in a life tap.
Soulfire gets drawn.
Doesn't have enough mana quite yet to play it, but unless some
Roger's
armor gain gets picked up, that's game.
Exactly. Roger's at 3 right now. So there is a mech that can armor you, and it is a warrior mech. It's an Eternium Rover, 1 mana, 1/3. It says every time it takes damage, you gain 2 armor.
And it would have Rush, which would allow you to take that damage immediately.
But he's got to kill all the stuff on board.
This would be a good time.
I mean, but the
for
cool
a
thing
master
about that is if he
plan.
actually discovers it, he can use the piloted Reaper and then take a trade with the Rush and then pull it out of the hand because it costs 2 or less. And then he can use it to take a hit onto the 2-2, and then he can even play the Rabid Worgen. I mean, he has to find it at this point. That's a lot of things to go right,
That's a lot of things to go right.
but it's possible. It is in the realm of possibilities, Admirable. The question is, even if he has the option, maybe he thinks he's fine.
Well, that's not it. And so he could battle all he wants, but that Soulfire in Dane's hand is going to end this game.
I'm boss. I'm furious.
Yeah, Roger's just going to go ahead and play out the cards, but like you said, that Soulfire in the hand's going to end this game. Europe's going to take a 2-0 lead over Taiwan.
That's right. So that's gonna secure them the series, but we're gonna see a game 3 regardless of that. We want to see every single player. We want to see all the cool decks they've brought. So Europe puts a match on the board for themselves. So they're now 1-1 match score, but they've got to play that additional game so that we can see their cool decks. They are gladiators inside